Hi, good morning, everybody. If you're just tuning into this video, we've already gone through the initial part of what's called the comprehensives. We've developed a list here for Mr. John Doe. And let's just say, for example, we look at this column here called last scan. In this case, those that are listed in red are scores that have somewhere in them anywhere from a 9 or potentially a 1. Now, those 9s are the extreme ends of the scale that refer to things like inflammation, infection, a toxic or hyperactive condition. The 1s are, again, those scores that are low in function, degenerative, malnourished, needing support. So in either of these cases, we take a look at this and say, well, which of these seems to relate to Mr. Doe's problem? So let's say here, for instance, the eustachian tube is a 1, and we've got some additional scores here that aren't ideal, but he's not complaining of a respiratory problem. We've got a stomach issue here that looks like it might have a few little issues, like the gastric gland being a 2, chief cells and serosa only being 2s, submucosal artery, the blood flow into the stomach, being a 1. But generally speaking, that isn't his big problem. Let's just say Mr. Doe is having problems with stress. He's having problems with really having the ability to respond very well to emergencies. His blood sugar is not under control. He's tired, he's fatigued, he's a little overwhelmed. We take a look at this, and that could explain why this norepinephrine is a major factor in being able to support blood sugar in a fasting state. So we'd say, look at this, oh, well, maybe we can take a look at the adrenals. So in this case, we're going to hit the Analyze button here again. We're going to go into the Analyze and say, now, what have we got available to take a look at here? Here's where the new lists are coming in. Now, in this case, we've got to share, new share here. Okay, so now we're taking a look at this and say, well, I've got lists available of things to test. So obviously, we take a look at the first list called adrenals. We can then hit analysis, and what it's going to do is it's going to scan through all of the different products from the professional lines that are available at Whole Life Clinic to be able to determine, well, in his case of adrenals, is there any of these medications that are going to do any good for him? Are there anything in here that seems to match up to his adrenal need? And you can see that it's going to scan through item by item. Now, taking a look at the list, just to remind everybody, here's how this looks as far as the assessment. The scan assessment from 0 to 100 is going to give us a percentage. This is the amount of benefit gained or benefit to that system from taking that supplement. The middle bar, body stress, also expressed as a percentage, would be any kind of side effect, difficulty, digestive stress, respiratory stress, anything that might cause any of the body some extra work that's involved in going through the process of taking whatever that remedy happens to be. And again, on our scale from 1 to 9, where 5 is ideal, 4 through 6 are within range, 1 is the extreme end of, for low function. 9 is the extreme end of inflamed or infected and toxic kind of situation. In that case, where does this remedy bring us on that scale from 1 to 9? So we're scanning through all of these. Now, these are those that have been selected by Whole Life Clinic to be those that are most effective for use with the adrenals. And in this case, we're going to end up getting 3 of them. We'll take a look at those 3, and what I do when I'm evaluating these is I take a look at the top bar, in this case, for instance, with adrenal complex. We get a 100% benefit by the use of that remedy. There is a body stress of 2% in taking it. It means that our net sum total is a 98% benefit, which in the grand scheme of things is just a really good score. On that scale from 1 to 9, we're getting a 5. And so again, that's the ideal score. So for, in this case, John Doe, for his adrenals, adrenal complex would be awesome. This is a remedy that has some adrenal glandular as well as a number of adrenal adaptogens and some nutrition, all supportive to the adrenals. We also then take a look at cerebral calm. Now, cerebral calm is, as the name implies, meant to calm down neurological signaling to the adrenals to keep the brain from overexciting the adrenal glands. Now here, we have still a 100% benefit, but our body stress is more like a 58. 58, obviously not as good because we're only coming up with a net of a 42% benefit, but 42 is still pretty good. That's a very nice score. And one of my favorites, copaiba, is an awesome essential oil from the Amazonian and South American rainforests, and it's very neurotonic. Now, neurotonic meaning that we get this idea that, again, we're going to stop the excitatory signaling of the brain and nervous system to the adrenals. Now, we're going to come up with a theme here of what one, we see that from the adrenal complex, this is almost like a hormone replacement therapy. In this case, we see that there's a deficiency of nutrition and support for the adrenals, and they need to be supported. Okay, great. And that's the most desperate need and the best score. We have a cerebral calm, a relatively good score, copaiba, a relatively good score. Again, from a very long list of other things that may have been beneficial, these are the top three. So in this case, we take a look at this and say, well, wait a minute here. Cerebral calm, copaiba are both neurocalmatives. They're both things that would kind of decrease the brain's propensity to signal the adrenals. So in that case, we say, okay, well, that is fantastic to understand that we may have a mental emotional stress mechanism that's part of Mr. Doe's problem here. So that's great. When we've written all these down on a worksheet, we would certainly say, let's take adrenal complex, because boy, that sure seems like the thing for now. But if we were to read into this, we could say, well, what about instead of just looking at the adrenals? We already have a clue that there's a process of neurological issues, and I forgot that it's under brain and nerve, not just nerve. So brain and nerve. What could brain and nerve do for the adrenals? So again, all we're going to do is we're going to scan through here. We're going to take a look and say, in this case, we have the ability to look at what might calm down the brain, what might address the mental, emotional stress that Mr. Doe is experiencing. How might that then influence what's going to go on with his overall program? Now, as you can extrapolate from looking at this, and as we go through the entire system and we get all these different systems of the body that have shown to be problems, we have all of those that are listed in our comprehensive scan as red scores, red meaning extreme scores of either 1 or 9 in there. There's a list that pertains to every single system. There's a list that pertains to every single process. There's numerous specialized lists. So what Whole Life Clinic has done is we've gone through and developed a complete list of professional quality products that are meant to address virtually any problem that you can come up with. We've covered every category that can be come up with in the comprehensives, as well as some other common problems. We also have specific brand names that we've put into the system where you can simply, if you want a brand name product, you can scan that. We can literally just click on that product brand name and scan what from among that line will address this problem. It'll give you the best 3 in every one of those cases. It'll give you the ability to then say, if I choose to go with X brand name, I can get the best 3 products for this particular thing. And so when we do that, we're isolating things down very easily, very quickly, without much effort to get to the point of them being able to say, now that we have all this in our hands, we have the ability to have a supportive nutritional profile, the ability to kind of work with somebody's health or our own health in a way that's tested in 3-4 different ways. We're really kind of coming up with a comprehensive and very thorough view. So let's take a look here. Now remember that we did brain and nervous system as our methodology of what are we going to do here. So in this case, the calmer restful blend. This happens to be an essential oil blend that has the ability to sort of calm things down. The mere smell of this could reduce the amount of mental emotional stress and signaling to the adrenals. Dopa Flow, dopa as in dopamine, and this happens to be a spray version where you can spray it in the mouth and there's an immediate uptake of the nutritional support for the dopamine pathway. Dopamine is a feel-good neurotransmitter. It's the thing that brings self-pleasure, self-sensation. So in other words, this is something that would really help out in terms of the ability to say, now we're going to not express stress mechanisms to the body. And again, look at the score, 100 and a 2. The calmer restful blend, 50 and a 0. So very low side effect here. MB Builder, a little bit more side effect. It's a 54% net difference. But MB Builder, mind and body builder. This is restorative, reparative, nutritively supportive supplement that helps to, when somebody's in a state of rehab, when somebody needs to reconstruct, when somebody needs to repair, MB Builder is superior at that kind of thing. Most of these are South American, Amazonian herbs as well, and we found really good luck for those people who've been damaged over time. So as we, again, take a look at this, we need a lot of support, we need a lot of building, but really we need to kind of calm down. So for these adrenals, for Mr. Doe, we have that ability to say, well, we can reasonably say that Mr. Doe is having a problem with some stress. His adrenals are the manufacturer of the stress reactivity, and this is what he's feeling as a symptom. But if we go back to the brain and nerve, that might then relieve some of his issues. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as the analysis part of this. This can obviously get extensive. We can have a number of different possible things that could be wrong in terms of all the different body systems that can be shown that have an imbalance, and we have a lot of different lists. It's merely a matter of exploration. It's a matter of trying it over and over again. So for those people who are using the remote system for Whole Life Clinic, that remote system gives you the ability to then sort of experiment and find out what's going to work best for any given system without you having to know a lot. This is where my expertise, the expertise of my Whole Life Clinic staff, and all the education that we have come into building these lists so that you don't have to know all these things. We're here to support you. So I appreciate you being here. Great to see that things are going well for you in this recording, and we'll go ahead and stop it now. If you have any questions at all, please let me know, and we will, again, keep going. We're going to have a couple more recordings that will then explain some of the other aspects of the comprehensive program, but this should give them, this is the meat of the program. This is what really promotes the most information gathering. Thanks.